I personally thought it was hard for me to get the first UX job because when I started, like back in pandemic, I came out, I started a job, it was pandemic. And there were not many like junior or graduate roles. Everyone is looking
projects when I was being interviewed, I just feel first, here in Ireland specifically, I think they add lots of value for those that are volunteering to do some job for free. Okay.
Mhm.
Because first thing, it shows passion. So if you decide to do something for free just to land in the market and to understand it, it shows the passion you have about design. AI is not an enemy, it's an ally.
Mhm.
And before the recruiter calling you, there is a robot. Check your CV. Because just think, if you go to LinkedIn right now and apply for a role, it probably want to say that another 1,000 tool we are using. So LinkedIn is the most important job search social media we have at the moment.
Hi, Rafael, and I'm super excited to have you as a guest on the podcast. Before we dig deep in, I just want to get you to introduce about your background. How did you get into UX and what's the story?
First of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and I really appreciate it. Regarding my background, so I hold 15 years experience in design in general.
Mm.
So I have a bachelor degree in digital media and a diploma in graphic design. I'm talking about 20 years ago, more or less.
Mm.
So that is my. Then I worked in Brazil as a graphic designer for a couple of years. I don't consider that graphic designers are migrating to UX once they decide to do it. It's, for example, moving to a neighbor area, moving the country is a different currency, a different language, a different weather, and etc. But consider moving from graphic design to UX like moving to another neighborhood only or another city, but in the same state, in the same country.
Mm.
So it is a change. We have to study, we have to understand a few new things, but it's easier for graphic designers and marketers to do this transition than to other professionals.
Mm.
Because from my perspective, graphic designers, when they are doing their advertisement job and these brands and etc., they also do a lot of user testings and branding testings as well and marketing testings. However, managers, clients, key stakeholders, they don't care about the research. They don't take a look at it. So basically, once the job is done, the designer just threw it away. Goes, okay, and move along to the next one. However, in UX, we definitely need to show the discovery, the research from end to end to have a big, strong user case. So that's, from my perspective, the major difference between those two design areas. So we have product design, UX design, UI designer, graphic designer, what else? Service designer. There's countless of titles and roles that at the end of the day, we are all designers.
Mm.
With some of them with different expertise, but we are all designers. The market is creating a mess with these titles. And now, so without of, okay, we need a designer with expertise in branding, or we need a designer with expertise in UX or etc. So yeah, that's just a small bit of my background.
Now, you raised a couple of very interesting points.
Mm,
So I think let's untangle a bit, right? You
mm,
said there is not much difference between the designers. We're all a design community with
yes.
different, like, expertise. Like some may be very good with visual design. Again, the visual design is a broad topic, maybe branding, design system. On there were different areas. So you mentioned a very good point. Before I go into the roles like the service designer, the UX designer, design system expert, like different type of role names, so let's untangle a bit, like a bit backwards. You said even graphic designers are designers. They come into the community.
Yeah.
But when you say you become, oh, my background is graphic designer. Now I'm a UX experience designer. They see it as a transition.
Yeah.
But if you say I'm a service designer, I'm a user experience designer, they don't see it much as a transition. They just see it as a title change most of the times. So let me answer
Yeah.
your question. So you said there is not much difference between a graphic designer and a user designer, what they do in general. One of the point is research. In graphic design, you throw away the research, like because clients don't care. But whereas with UX UI, you have to support your decision because there were so many things at stake, like, much more like is reused, like the interface and everything. It is affecting a bigger picture. So, what else is the difference when someone wants, a graphic designer wants to come into UX field? What do they need to be aware of when they're like rebranding themselves as a UX designer?
I feel who has graphic design in their backgrounds, they are great with the UI.
Mm.
So they will have zero or just a few challenges to understand a UI task because UI is visual. UI, what's the difference between UI design and visual design?
It's almost the same.
It's visual. It's creating screens. It's creating design that tells a story and with colors, shades, buttons, and etc. Shapes. So from my perspective, they have to understand a little bit more the user research. So how to conduct a user interview, how to do a good competitor analysis, how to conduct user testing is more the approach of the interviews and testings than I would say ground research. Because as I said before, the ground research they are already used to do because it's something that graphic designers do a lot. If I need to create a logo, I need to understand my competitors, so I need to do a competitor analysis. I know it's a bit different, but the concept is the same. And from my perspective, my biggest challenge when I started to look at UX roles a few years ago was to understand how to ask good questions to users in order to have good answers. Because it's where they need to focus a little bit more.
So basically, the graphic designers has a good UI skills, visual skills. It would be easier to transition. And they're already very good with secondary task research, doing computer analysis, what is the logo. The only skill they may need to improve is like primary research skills, how to do a stakeholder interview, stakeholder mapping, and all those stuff.
Yeah.
But
In general, yes, but it's such an individual thing.
mm,
Like you should know the areas you need to enhance,
mm.
okay, and the areas you have to improve yourself to get the job you want. But in general, yes,
So I think you mentioned an other point, if I remember right, the different roles, the service design, user experience design, UI designer, like those are all considered as an UX designer field, right? They don't see you as a transition. They just see it as a job title change. So what was the first role you got as a in the UX world, like when you came from graphic design? Is it a UI design? Or did you get like a generic UX designer role? What was the transition like?
I like it was around 10 years ago
Mm.
when I decided to be a freelancer. So I was creating digital products to my clients and I start to study the research part of the UX. Okay. And then talking to the right people to deliver the good outcome to my clients. And I was a freelancer for 2 years. Then I joined an e-commerce website, also doing some graphic design job,
Mm.
but also working on the e-commerce itself, providing research and providing also UX design in general for a better, to improve the return on investment the company was seeking for.
So there's another point you mentioned now indirectly and before. You said like you learned how to ask good questions,
Yep.
right, to the users. What do you mean? How do you know you're asking a good question? How do someone improve that? How did you do that?
Yeah. An easy tip to understand if the question is great or not is if the answer it with yes or no. If you ask me something and I say yes, and then silent, it means the question wasn't good. Yes and no is so generic. So if they say, yes, I agree, and then the users elaborate why they are agreeing with you or why they are disagreeing with you and delivering context, it means you got the answer you were expecting.
Hmm.
And it means the question was great.
So it's more like open-ended questions. How you phrase
Yeah.
it more open-ended?
Yeah, exactly. So for example, when we are doing user testings, okay, we cannot ask to the user, did you like the
Mm.
design? They will say, yes, I like it. Then
Yeah.
what is it?
Yeah.
Why you like it? So it's different from when we ask about was your experience good? And they say, yes, because XYZ. Then you have this. It's the same question, but phrase is different, and the results of the question will be different. You'll be different as well.
So if I understood right, one of the skills like to ask the good question, benchmark is you have to know what you're looking for, basically. But the framing
Yes.
is very important. You have to be open-ended, but you also have to frame it in a way that links back to the research. Because if you ask too broad of an open question, it can go too broad, if I understood right.
Yeah.
Still,
When I'm talking to users, I like to have some open-ended questions at the beginning
mhm,
and then drilling down, you know what I mean? Like a pyramid, and then go into the weeds with them to be able to see if they understood every single aspect of the experience I am trying to provide. And when it comes to this is user testing, when it comes to user interviews, when I need to understand the scope of the project, and when we are far beyond from the final designs, when we are doing the discovery, we need also to have this drill, but to understand the scope of the research we are doing. So there are two different part of the process, and one is at the beginning, the other one is more at the end.
mhm,
But again, if you ask good questions, you're gonna have good answers. Ask any journalist that they are interviewing people
yeah,
to see that their answers about it. So they are the experts about asking good questions. So it's another area that we can take as a reference, like
mm,
journalists. See how they are asking trick questions to politicians, for example, and they are slippery, and how they are getting the answers and making people that has no expertise in politics to understand it.
that's a really good point. Though. Pick up skills from other fields,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. We are not in an island.
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
Everyone can transition,
Exactly.
every industry. That's why they say UX is such an easy role to transition in if you know the proper, how to make it as your strengths. Okay, let's go back to the conversation, right? So, what stigmas did you face when you're like applying for UX roles? Like, how is the hiring process? Because there is, I feel like UX design, personally, you can challenge me on this. My
Mm,
personal view is after experience and after looking and hearing what I mentored my juniors, what I heard was I personally thought it was hard for me to get the first UX job because when I started like back in pandemic, I came out, I started a job, it was pandemic. And there were not many like
mm,
junior or graduate roles. Everyone is looking for senior. And I rarely see graduate UX designer on like in a UX internships, especially in small countries like Ireland and those areas. Another thing is there is so much friction. I like I had a master's degree in interaction design, but I see so many people coming, they're struggling. And the struggle is getting much more harder now, even with the experienced people if they want to go for new roles. And you said you transition from graphic design to UX. The transition now it is even like much more harder, like the stigma and everything. Let's pull back to two contrasts, right? Let's start with 10 years back. Is the transition easier back then? The job market and those stuff?
I think so. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
because if we have just this short frame of time from 2020 to here, it after the during and after the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
the market overheated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's easy to understand because people were losing their jobs, and digital and the tech era was the only one hiring a lot. Okay, because everybody went to digital, so they had to be ahead of competition, and they hired a lot. Okay, they grew the development and line things exponentially,
Mm-hmm.
and now the market is again
Down. Very.
down. Not, I don't think it's down. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's back to what it was in 2018, 2019, but we have more professionals now. So we have people, for example, that they were working in totally different areas. With the lockdown, they start to study Figma and UX design principles and doing online courses. They got a job, okay, because companies were looking for this kind of professional, at least with intentions to learn and grew in the company and learn new skills. And now they are in the market and they are being laid off. So now it's harder for juniors to get the first job than it was when I decided to land in the UX market, because it was something around 2012 and 13. And as I said, I had 2 years of freelancing experience
Yeah.
in the UX market. So it gave me a portfolio to showcase a real one. So at that time, I was mixing both expertise in graphic and UX to sell myself to my clients. So here is what I can do for your marketing piece of your company marketing piece, but here's what I can do for your users
Mm.
as well. So I was basically selling two professionals in one.
Yeah. Companies love that. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So when I decided to go back to the market and I got the job in the e-commerce I mentioned, it wasn't that difficult, to be honest.
Mm.
Okay, because still lots of roles open and few people with that expertise, so it wasn't too hard to get a job. And as I said, at that time I was doing UX and digital work for them, but also from time to time they asked me to go back to my roots, I would say, and do some even pretend materials to them. So
Mm.
it was a long transition, to be honest, because there I was doing graphic design work, but also UX work, because companies, depending on the size, they need those kind of professionals that can handle multiple tasks and like the unicorns.
Yeah.
But now I am 100% focused on the UX.
So one important thing you mentioned is the portfolio.
Yeah.
And let's dig into that with the hiring. So I have so many questions on portfolio. Let's start basing on the current situation, right? Let's start with someone with junior role and
Mhm.
have any real life projects. And sometimes companies look for experience. And people do try to make like college projects like I personally said if you people the process is important, like in how you approach, don't cookie cut like the process because it changes. That's what the companies are looking for. But challenge me on that, what does the junior portfolio should have minimum to get an interview call?
Because first, during interview, we don't have time to showcase 7 different projects. We have to pick one and going deeply into that one. So if they have one fantastic university project to show, that's that's the key, right? But another good strategy to land finally on the UX market is trying to get some volunteer work. There's plenty of non-profit companies asking for help. Okay, and then if you think it is a job, it has hierarchy, it has deadlines, it's exactly the same job you're gonna be doing when you definitely learn on the market, but for a few hours per day or per week. Okay, and then you have a real life important project to showcase. So I did some volunteer for more than a year, and it was game changer for me here in Ireland. Okay, because that is also my career path. It wasn't linear. Okay, when I landed here, I had to step back, and I was working Burger King for a year. Okay,
Mm.
not at the office, at the counter, but I was okay. I'm a designer. I need to find something. And then I found a company that was asking me to volunteer and doing some volunteer job to them for a couple of months. And it was the start of my UX career here in Ireland. And I don't regret at all. And it was a fantastic experience that opened doors for me here in the country. Because first, I had some Irish person to give me a referral when the recruiter asked for it. And
Mm.
secondly, I had a strong user case in the country to showcase during interview because I had plenty of projects back there in Brazil, but it's impossible to translate every single screen to showcase it properly. And then I
Mm.
was just okay. I was translating the research and all the materials, but the screens they weren't in English. And once I got this opportunity, I had an Irish project to showcase, and also to have experience in the Irish market. Okay, because we are all humans, the market are not that different from countries to countries, but how is the Irish working flow? How they are solving problems? Is that too different from the Brazilian market? So having this market expertise would help them to land in their first job. And also, if they are juniors migrating from different areas, let's suppose someone from finances,
Mm.
okay, to migrate into UX, we have countless banks and financial organizations hiring UX people. And they could focus on, okay, I am a junior, I'm studying UX, but I have huge experience in finances.
Mm.
So I understand your product. I understand your competitors better than any other designer that might land in your company with 20 years experience in different fields, but no experience in finances. So I'm just saying finances as an example. So my tip to them is if they are just finishing university and just finishing graduation, showcase the best projects they have. Doesn't matter how many. If it's just one, that's okay. Go ahead with one and nail it. If they are someone with experience in other areas and then doing UX courses, studying Figma and other tools, and really want to migrate, it's a good idea to try to focus on companies that are related to their previous role.
So you mentioned very good points. There is like a lot of points I want to dig deeper, but I will choose wisely. So you said like when you came from the markets are the same, but there is still a difference. Portuguese Brazilian market, like
Mhm.
translation, and you also mentioned Irish project made it much easier to get like in a full-time actual UX job. So can I ask you a question? What's the difference with the markets actually? Why isn't the Brazilian projects, except from the translation, didn't convert to the Irish market projects? What is the difference in the process though? That's what I'm curious.
The difference between the hiring process or the marketing
Well,
job?
is like you said the projects you did in Brazil,
Mhm.
you didn't show it in the Irish market. You got a volunteer job, did an Irish market projects like in Ireland, then went for a full-time job. So I'm just wondering, apart from the translation, you can't translate the screens, you can translate the research and the text. But why is
Of course.
it? I thought the process is the same everywhere.
The process is the same everywhere. So I showcased my Brazilian projects when I was being interviewed. I just feel first here in Ireland specifically, I think they add lots of value for those that are volunteering to do some job for free. Okay,
Mhm.
because first thing, it shows passion. So if you decide to do something for free just to land in the market and to understand it, it shows the passion you have about design, and it's valuable. And if you think on the recruiting experience, we need to understand that part as well. It's much easier to talk to someone that lives in the same country as a recruiter than asking for reference to someone that we don't even know if talk the same language.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of trust. Okay. And regarding the both markets, I think, of course, there is difference because like different countries, different rules, different laws. Okay, and the market itself has some difference as well, as I said. So Brazil has different labor rules than Ireland, which impact the job market in general, not only the UX market. And they have differences, but I feel it's more a matter of empathy. Okay, you got a volunteer job in Ireland, so now you are into the market, you are understanding how Irish people work, and then it could be something that open a door to you, okay, or a window for you to enter. Okay, so if you have lacks of experience, volunteering could be a great start.
So let's go back again to the portfolio, right? We talked up with the juniors, like if they're coming to the Ireland, how to build up the projects, like actual projects that is much more related to the hiring manager to build up the trust, like different like factors play into the role. But say someone who has experience with big name companies or very complicated like finance sector or like a Microsoft, like Google, sometimes if they work on the backend projects, they can't actually showcase that project on their portfolio, right? They may be working for 7 years in the company and they may be working on some backend user experience projects. And because of strict NDAs, most of the people can't show the actual experience they have in their portfolio because they would be like breaching the NDAs depending upon the products they're working. So, in that case, how do you think a person can handle a portfolio, an experienced person?
Okay, so you mean when we have intellectual property issues? Yes,
Like
too.
NDAs, yeah, some
Okay,
projects like you can't
so
publish because.
what? So first, I don't really think companies care that much about it. Okay, and I have some projects in my portfolio that shows confidential data. Okay, what I do, I blur it because confidential data are normally texting numbers. Just blur it because it's seeing it. There is no impact on the hiring manager because they don't need it. They don't want to understand this kind of information. They want to understand your process,
Mm,
not your strategy from discover to deliver.
mm.
As the numbers that are there, the texting, the legal things that are there, we don't care. So we don't need to showcase. I feel we should be safe and first checking our contract to see if you are allowed to show it. Then there is no harm to go to your manager or previous manager. Can I show it? And then asking for permission. I don't see companies denying it. Another thing that we can you can do is if you have like a fantastic project that you can't publish, you can say it during the hiring process, and you can have a PDF or like this to showcase during the interview. Maybe not even sending to them by email, but you can showcase it. Some slides, some information. If you think this project would be like something that will give you the job, you have other ways to showcase it. You can even, for example, you can have a link into your portfolio, and then to access this link, the person had need to have a password. So you have ways to protect yourself from lawsuits, I don't think that happens, but it's good. And at the same time, showcasing your projects if they are that confidential. If you're working for the army or the government stuff, the super secret things, there is other ways to showcase them. Yeah, and you have to be smart. And you have first to be able to show your strategy from end to end, showing the screens you are allowed to show. That's the thing.
So one of the idea I had around that example, like super secret financial products for a big company or like the government army projects. My strategy was like, you can challenge me on that. You have the process. You don't need to show like same screens and no need to mention. Create a fictional product, like it's similar but a different. Change the features or
Yep.
something, and repeat the process. This is how I did, like similar enough but different, so it doesn't breach any contracts and still that's a
That-
different product. That
That's a good strategy.
yeah,
You
and
can
it saves
promote the
everybody.
company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doing some design UI changes, don't have like exactly the same screen and showcase it. And again, during the hiring process, what they want to understand is your strategy from discover to deliver. They don't
Mm.
care that much about fancy buttons and color schemes and etc. They want to understand the UI of things.
Like why you made the decisions.
Exactly. What based your decisions.
Mm.
That's the point. And you have 30 minutes to pitch it. This strategy of changing the logo, change the name of the company, it's also a good one. Definitely.
So let's come back with the portfolios and everything, right? This much effort goes into portfolios and it is the CVs. So with the current job market, we discussed is much harder now. So I also know like you mentor other. So based on your experience, what do you think? What is the best strategy to structure your portfolio in this current day market?
Okay. First thing, when I'm reviewing a portfolio, I don't want to see Behance profile. That's the point. So for a few reasons, Behance is fantastic. Okay, it's a great tool for you to put your portfolio, for you to get references, visual references, to connect to other designers, to connect to other creative workers. Okay. However, if you think deeply, Behance has a standard. If you publish your project there, is their design. Okay. You cannot deviate from the page structure. So you cannot be yourself. Okay. And we have plenty of tools that you can pay or you can get for free to build your own website. And I think having your own .com is important for a few reasons. First thing, you are delivering more, again, passion about your own work. Okay, I have some great show user cases here. Let's publish in Behance and that's it. It's different from someone that has great user cases to show on their own website. They are delivering more information about themselves than only Behance profile or Notion or any other tool. Okay. So from my perspective, having their own .com is important. Okay. For that reason, you can show up yourself because it's your own website. And the tip I deliver to my mentees is treat your portfolio as your biggest UX case. Try to think about your users, and your users are the recruiters and the hiring managers. What are they expecting to see when they reach your portfolio?
Mm.
Okay, again, in Behance, you for example, you cannot have your contact information in every single project. So they need to go to your profile, they need to open your project, then they need, okay, let's talk to this person. They need to close the project, they need to seek your information at some place in the page, and then talking to you. If they go straight away to your portfolio, you should put your contact information straight away. And again, it's a place that you can show your style. It's a place that you can show 100% yourself.
Mhm.
So if you're a colorful person, you can have a colorful website. If you're more black and white and monochromatic like me, you can showcase it. And also, you are showing to the recruiter and to the hiring manager, okay, if Rafael needs to go by himself and no supervision and doing design from scratch with no design system, nothing, what we can expect from him. Here we go. Okay. And another important thing is show projects first. Okay. Projects are the most important thing. Again, doesn't matter how many, but also show up your personality. Okay. So people hire people, people don't hire projects. Okay. So if you have your own .com, you can add hints of your personal life, hints about what you like to do during your spare time, hints about your career. So, for example, I think on Behance, you can't upload your CV.
Yeah.
If you have your own.com, you can put your CV into your website as a tab or a link to download the PDF. And then you are making the life of the recruiter easier. Because if they don't have it, in a few clicks, they're going to have it. And also showcasing that you are a person, you are creating empathy. Okay, so I have a nice case to show you here. When I was being interviewed NIB, I worked for NIB, the Irish bank, for 1.5 years, more or less. And during the interview process, the last call was with my manager, my future manager, and his boss. Okay. And it was online because it was in the pandemic. And the boss of the boss was like 2 minutes late for the call. 1 minute, I don't remember. And to avoid both of us staring at the camera without saying nothing, my future manager just started to talk and chit chat. And he said, "Oh, Rafa, I see you are from Brazil. I don't know too many things about your country, but there is a rock band from there that I love. It's called Sepultura." And I said, "Oh, you really like them?" "Yeah, I went to the concert twice. I have an autograph and a photo with the guitar player." And it was a minute chit chat. And we created a small connection because we have the same musical taste.
Mm.
I'm not, they hired me because I like the same band as manager, but it broke the ice. You know what I mean? So I was nervous because I really want that job. And normally hiring managers, they don't want to be interviewing people because they are busy people and they have like plenty of things to do and they are there talking to you for an hour and they want to decide faster or who should receive an offer.
Mm.
So it's a very tiny, small connection in a minute. And it was, and at the end of the day, the interview was more a chat. It was so pleasant. And after two or 3 days, they call offering the job. As I said, I'm not saying I got the job because I like the same rock band as my previous manager,
Mm.
but again, empty. If you show, okay, I like this artist. I like this movie. I like chocolate. I like beds. Look, my bed here. You're showing that you're a person. And then you can create a connection with someone that doesn't even know you at the moment. So on those platforms like Behance, Notion, you can't do it. But in your own website, you can tell stories. You can tell your own story. You can put your CV telling the story of your career, and you can tell the story of your projects, of course. And of course, if the projects are not good, they don't even waste their time looking at the rest.
Mm.
Okay? Think on your users, think on empathy. As I say, as I always say to my mentees, use your UX knowledge to yourself. And your.com is a digital product. Go there, do your research, create personas to yourself, talk to people if possible, ask for reviews. So we are designers, we know other designers, just ask for them, okay? Can you take a look to my portfolio and delivery, sincere feedback? It is the same as a user testing. It's the same as a user interview. If you know any recruiter, maybe you can pay this person a coffee and talk.
Mm.
It's just a matter of talking and going there. And the worst case scenario is say, no, I don't want to do it. That's okay. Move along. But It's not that hard, okay, to understand what people want when they land in your portfolio. Because the hiring process, from my perspective, has 3 to 4 stages, and the portfolio plays an important role in all of them. The first is the recruiter. Okay, the recruiter maybe doesn't have technical expertise to evaluate your projects. Okay, maybe they're not even accessing your portfolio. Okay, it's a more hiring manager thing. But if they are curious, why not showing empathy? Why not showing your person? Because it's what recruiters are looking for. They are not interested in your design expertise and your user research in the technical terms.
Mm.
They are evaluating your personality, and your portfolio could help you to show it. Second stage, you pass the first screening interviews, the first call and the first interview with the recruiter. You go probably to the hiring manager or someone with the design skills. Then this person will look for 1 to 5 minutes into your project, okay? Because they have 10 other portfolios to look. They will just scan, and within this scan, they need to understand your strategy from delivery to discovery and the outcome of it. And they might give a glance to the other stuff if you want, like CV and fun stuff about yourself and etc. Third, the third step is the interview. When you go to at least one of your projects and you go deep and you showcase it to them,
Mm.
detail with a good explanation, selling yourself. Then the fourth step that might happen from my perspective is, okay, I am really struggling to decide between Rafael and another guy, another person. I need to start to be very picky. So let's go to their portfolio over again and try to find a reason to hire Rafael or not hiring the other one. So you see, 4 different stages, 4 different steps, and the portfolio is involved in all of them. So from my perspective, designers in general, not only UX, the portfolio is more important than the CV. From my experience, all the interviews I did, they looked for the CV for a minute. Okay, your bachelor degree in digital media, graphic design, okay, UX, okay, portfolio, please, and discussing the.
So basically, from what I understood, like portfolio is your business card days, and also it is your like a final card that decides. Because you go around the levels, like as you progress through the levels, what was the portfolio, the personality also matters. Because like first are screening out rounds. So as they get the pull down, so it's still have a Behance portfolio. They may not come and ask you and have a call. They just have a review. They think, nope, this person I'm more connected to. I can understand their process. They get
Mhm.
less. Can I work with this person? And that's what also portfolio helps with to make a better case.
And also, there's another fun story. Few years ago, I was working with other designers in the team, and my manager told me, Rafa, if I was a owner of any kind of tech business, I would hire you. If I was a owner or any like kids app or like Toy Stories, I would hire other person because your style is monochromatic. Okay, you don't like to work with a lot of colors, and for kids you have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my portfolio can tell this story. So maybe I'm not the right fit for any kids game app or, as I said, Toy Stories retailers, but I might be the right fit for the tech industry because again, even my fashion style is more like black and white and one extra color, 3 tops, and it's a torture for me to add a fourth one. And again, I am saving their time. Okay, he seems to be the right person, or he seems to be not the right person.
Like also they say like choosing the projects you present also plays a role. If you present more SaaS products or like enterprise products, then you won't be getting calls from e-commerce or landing page. Also, you
Yes.
have to be more conscious of the case studies you present. If you have a particular thing, then you have to work on making at least one case study on that. May not be the right one, but like a fictional one. We're coming to the end. So how do you think AI plays a role in like portfolio building and CV and in general finding a job?
So first thing, like LinkedIn just implemented their own AI tool. So definitely you can use it and try to write a better profile to sparkle the attention of a recruiter. Okay, so you can use definitely you can use it. We need to use it like cleverly. Okay, I use ChatGPT a lot, especially for my writings. Okay, but once I get the results from the tool, I translate it to my language.
Mm.
You understand what I mean? I translate in the way that I talk to people, not to sound like a robot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the first thing. You can use AI wisely to build your CV, to build your LinkedIn profile. And you can go to any AI tool and also ask for ideas for a portfolio. That's powerful. Like you can create an image of yourself in fun ways and using AI for that as well. So AI is there. We cannot avoid it. We should not avoid it and we should use it wisely. AI is not an enemy, it's an ally
Mm.
to speed up things. So go there, test them because we have like thousands of AI tools right now. Test them, select one that fits you and use it wisely. So use AI to write or use AI to show your user cases because we need to be succinct in the text. Okay, the text should be short,
Mm.
but should be an eye catching. How can you do it? Use an eye to do your competitor analysis because even to your portfolio, you should go there and look to what other designers are doing. And then you can ask any kind of AI, please send to me the 10 best UX portfolios you have.
Mm.
Then they're going to deliver you some links. And then you can ask them to evaluate these websites as well and delivering to you insights to make better. Okay, so we have plenty of areas that AI can place a crucial role. So definitely writing user cases is the one because you should again think about people don't read, they scan,
Yeah.
and AI knows what they scan. And AI knows better than us keywords to use during a process. And it's important for you to understand the prompt you have to write. So take some time to understand the tools. Like tools are important, but we also should think they are only tools and tools come and go and principles remain. All right. So understand the tools, but especially if you're a junior, focus more in understanding UX concepts. Because tools, they are easy to understand. They are easy to use. It's another 2 cents here. I see people, especially recently graduated, they are so worried about I need to master Figma, but they don't know if Figma will be a trend in a year. And they are forgetting about studying how to do a good UX interview, how to do a good UX testing, how to do the discovery, how to deliver projects to developers, how to hand off your designs to them. And they are lacking on it. And they are focused on, okay, I need to understand auto layout. I need to understand Figma components. It's a matter of time for understanding the tool. And it also applies to AI. It's a matter of time to understand them, use them, start using. And then you're gonna see you will be evolving. You're gonna be evolving your toolkit, but definitely using AI to write user stories is a game changer. It will speed up your portfolio creation and also speed up the quality of the text you have available there.
Do you have any other tips like how? I know one of the challenges, right, Russell? I feel like, see, now everyone uses AI to take a job description, use your CV, ask AI for the keywords. It is doing that. So that competition will be much more harder from what I understand. Like, in everyone goes to ATS system. Then there would be like, so I think like now is more like you also have to humanize, as you said. How do you do that? And question is, one of the things they say is keep black and white the CV most of the time. Don't use kind of
Mhm.
color. So do
Yeah.
you think people need to start using color to catch
No.
the attention? No.
Blue. First thing, I see some people with their creative CVs,
Mm-hmm.
and it's important to understand, again, it's important to understand the hiring process. And before the recruiter calling you, there is a robot check your CV. Because just think, if you go to LinkedIn right now and apply for a role, it probably will want to say that another 1,000 people are applying.
Yeah.
And recruiters are not only for 1,000 CVs. They maybe grab 20 to take a look. And the first scanning is made by a bot. And
Mm-hmm.
this bot has to understand every single letter of your CV. So if you have like images, different colors, different fonts that are not like the standard ones like Arial, Times, and etc., the chance of those bots failing in understanding your CV is huge. And then you're gonna receive an automatic message. Okay, thanks for applying, and then but you are not moving along with you. Okay, please keep an eye and then apply for the next role.
Yeah.
There is, it wasn't a human being sending you this message. Okay, first screening is made by a bot. Okay, so we have to have it in mind. And then the place to have your creative, stunning with fireworks is your website.
Okay.
There you can put your personality again, making it colorful, creative, because it's a later stage. So first, the let's say the boring white, black and white PDF, okay, for
Mm-hmm.
passing the screening. Then, second step, when a person's talking to you, you can send it. Okay, you'll say, "Oh my God, this CV is so beautiful," but I would just place it as a tab in my website, and then using different fonts, using different colors, making it more fun, having a timeline about your experience, then you can play around your creativity and delivering a creative CV. But at the beginning of the screening process, you're gonna be like killing your chances
Mm-hmm.
to have a good a good offer at the end of the day.
One last question. The classic is use the Word document, use experience profile, education, the static headings in the CV. So, apart from Word document, do you think there were other CV builders online? Do you think those would be a good option to consider, or do you think just stick to Word document, Google Docs, just
Like
the plain or like top to bottom CV?
I don't feel we need to reinvent the wheel here. Okay, so go there. The tool you're using to write your CV, from my perspective, doesn't matter. Okay,
Mhm.
you can use some templates to do it, and then just translating it to your experience and make it like yourself.
Mhm.
But go there, grab a template, a standard one, and then fill up with information. So first your contact details, then your experience, and lastly your education. Unfortunately, people cares more about the experience than the education, so that's sad but true. But I wouldn't care about where to write it. Just grab the tool you have, the tool you are more familiar with, and they have like plenty of
Yeah.
Word has plenty of different CV templates that you can use. Go there because again, at that time, people are not looking into your creativity because first scanning is a bot. Bots, they don't have like feelings or they don't like anything. They are just programmed to deliver like 20 CVs to the recruiter. And even the recruiter, then now we are talking about a human being, but they want to understand your information in a very straightforward way. So if you change fonts, if you change colors, if you use different templates that are not standard, maybe you're not catching the attention of this person. And again, I know I'm sounding repetitive, but the place for creativity is your portfolio. And then you can have your creative CV there, not when you are like hitting the apply button on LinkedIn and sending your CV to a recruiter by mail.
Perfect. We almost came to the end. So, do you have any other important message based on our discussion to the audience?
Yeah, I do. Another thing that, from my perspective, was a game changer to reach the level I have right now was content creation. Okay, so I am creating content on LinkedIn regularly for years. And the feedback I got from it is positive. And from my perspective, we have to understand the tool we are using. So LinkedIn is the most important job search social media we have at the moment,
Mm.
but it is a social media like any other. So it has an algorithm behind it. So understanding how this algorithm works could play an important role for you to have your final job offer.
Mm.
Okay, because just think if it is a social media. So social media algorithms, they basically count words, they basically count hashtags. So if you keep posting relevant content that people are commenting, people are resharing, you're gonna escalate your profile. So again, I feel it's important to talk to a recruiter to see how they do the research.
Mm.
So if they need to hire a UX designer in Ireland, they will do the Boolean LinkedIn research. And this research has a filter, and this filter is made by relevance. So if you are creating relevant content, the chance of you to be show up at the first or second or third profile is bigger. Okay, so my another 2 cents here is for you to take a look at your SSI score on LinkedIn
Mhm.
to see where you are on the when someone research about your industry field, where you are located.
Mm.
So they give you this feedback. So from my perspective, create content also shows you're passionate about, in our case, design,
Mm.
but other people in other industries can do the same because you're using your spare time to study and to write a content or to create a video about any design related topic. You need to study before.
Yeah.
So you are studying by yourself and improving yourself. And then once you post, people are going to start to comment and people are going to start to share their opinions. And their opinions could be not the same as yours. And then you evolve as a professional because, okay, this person doesn't agree with me. Why? And then you can change your mind about whatever you posted before and then evolve or engage in discussion and then making your post like more relevant. Then again, recruiters will reach you out because you are relevant in the platform. And also, it's not related to portfolio, but if you write, for example, articles,
Mm.
you can share those articles during the interview process. Look, I have this side project and I'm writing articles in Notion, where I have my own blog and WordPress, Wix, and etc. Just take a look. Here's my opinion about the field. And also, I tell my junior mentees to do it as well, but they are not confident. Most of them are not confident because, okay, I'm a junior. What do I have to teach? How can I teach someone if I don't have the experience?
Mm.
That's the thing. You are a junior, you are studying. So why not just writing about a book you just read or writing something about a class you had a day ago? And then you are showing your knowledge, you are spreading your knowledge, but you're also learning because you're writing or concentrating. And then once you get your job, your design role, you're going to apply
Mm.
what you learned doing this content creation. And another good point, if especially if you go by a video, I'm not creating any video content at the moment, but it's my goal for next year. Start creating videos. You learn how to talk design. You learn how to spread the design idea to people that has no design expertise by talking to a camera. And then you are training your speech to ask for a promotion, to ask for a raise, to talk to someone at the higher business level.
Mm.
You're training. And the first one will be terrible, as my first article was terrible, but I'm not changing it. And now when I'm going there and I reread it, it's a mixed feeling of shame and, okay, I'm proud of who I am right now. And that's the point. Just start doing it. If you're not comfortable with videos like me, you can just start writing. If you are not comfortable with your writing skills, create a video. If you want just to start posting and see the results, repost a nice post to another person. Then create content and start to being relevant into the community. So talking about the Irish community, it's a small one if you think about. So attend to meetings, go there, shaking hands, go to those free events that we have like almost every month and talk to people. Volunteer to be working at those conferences, the reception, and then you're gonna be able to talk to experts. And then it's a long process.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, if you shake the right hand, if you talk to the right person, this person might open you a door. And if you ask to any recruiter, the best roles they aren't publishing. So if you talk to the right person, if you show your skills to the community, it's a matter of time for a recruiter to reach you out with an interview or a job offer.
No, those are really good tips, like networking and actually contributing to the community. Not only take, but also start somewhere. Everyone is horrible when they start, like the videos. You learn as you go. So,
Yeah, you are creating content, so you know how relevant it is to for the community, and you know the results you are having from it.
yeah,
So the same as me, I know the results it is delivering to me, and they are not only financial ones;
that's
they are experience and learnings as well. And the financial ones, the last one I'm worried, to be honest, at the moment.
perfect. So, we had such a lovely conversation. Thank you,
Absolutely. Thank you
Rafael.
so much.